Even at noon, the shrine grounds were packed with people making their first shrine visit of the year. Men wearing white robes similar to Naore's littered the area. They're probably all members of the Blessed Congregation. Though they appeared to be serving as security, there was no way of telling for sure. Masuki thought them sketchy, though that was likely his bias talking. After all, it wasn't even like they'd done anything for certain. One of the robed men, Naori, flagged Masuki over once he noticed him.
Ohayo, Rifto. 悪いね。呼び出したのがこんなところで。いや、それは構わないけど。
The other robed men were staring at Masuki. Honestly, they were making him uncomfortable. In fact, it almost felt like they were spying on him.
じゃあ行こうか。自宅じゃなくて申し訳ないけれど。
Yeah? Why not your place? What are you sheltering at your place, huh? Now they started walking away from the flow of people.
どこへ行くんだ。曲がりしている仕事場だよ。
Oh god. The pair boarded the Chuo line at Kichijoji Station and got off at Kuritachi. They then made their way out the northern exit and strolled between paddy fields for a while until a large building came into view.
ここが仕事場？ああ。典型会という宗教団体なのだけどね。名前を聞いたことだけはあるけど。
Masuki kept his answer vague. He knew he couldn't let on that he was probing for information.
先月ここで働いていた人が事件に巻き込まれたようでね。
That's crazy. That may have been the case, but it was a completely different story now. There wasn't so much as a soul to be spotted in the vicinity of the Blessed Congregation's headquarters. With all the doors and windows shut, even the building itself looked positively deserted. Though they probably weren't trying to hide anything of the sort.
さすがに正月だから人も少ないようだね。
Naori chuckled and opened the front door.
どうぞ。
Though he felt like he was walking into the jaws of death, Masuki nodded and stepped inside. Naori took Masuki to an infirmary in the Blessed Congregation's headquarters.
消毒液臭い場所で悪かったね。このくらいだったら黒谷委員で慣れてるさ。ああ、あそこも結構匂いがしていたね。
Naori laughed. And changed a bit from the Naori that Masuki remembered.
そうだ。七子にはもう会っているんだろ？え？
Masuki unconsciously gaped into the abrupt change in subject.
七子から聞いたよ。入院していたんだって？ああ。
He knows. Which means he probably also knows I'm going by the alias Tameki Masuki. But the question is, exactly how much has she told him? So the door to the infirmary opened.
明けましておめでとう、隼人君。
And almost as if on cue, Nanako came in carrying a tray with teacups. Oh, well, I mean, already we knew it was a set. We knew Nanako would be there, right? Didn't realize it was going to be this heavy of a setup, though. Because now they're cornering him like, hey, now that we got you here alone, we need to talk, buddy. Because obviously we know Nanako is in on something. It wouldn't surprise me that Naori also gets roped into it.
Nanako-san, なぜここに?
Masuki was so flabbergasted they forgot to even give his own New Year's greetings.
偶然こっちで再会したのよ。病院の方は4日までお休みをいただいてるし。はい、どうぞ。
Pure coincidence, my ass. She served Masuki a piping hot cup of tea.
ここの信者ではないんですか？
違うわよ。もっとも入信しかけた時があったのも事実。
俺が止めたんだよ。
Oh.
止めた？典型会に入信したところで何も変わらないからね。おっと、これはこんなところで言うことじゃないな。
I didn't sound the least bit sorry. Does that mean he's not a believer? Ada Kuroya had never shown all that much interest in religion, so it wouldn't have surprised Masuki.
じゃあどうしてここに？仕事だよ。ここの医療関係のことを任されている。
あら、なおちゃん。前は子供たちのためって言ってたじゃない。
Nanako chimed in.
子供たちのため。まあ、それもあるけれどね。
Naori smiled awkwardly before his face morphed into a serious expression.
戦争が終わってから俺は医者になった。最初は小児科で栄養失調になった子供たちを。当然誰も金なんて持っていないから、病院にはギリギリになってからようやくやってくるようなありさまでな。
Naori hung his head.
俺はそんな世界を救いたかったんだよ。
Masuki was rendered speechless. Naori's confession could have been interpreted as his reason for joining the Blessed Congregation. According to Reiji, their doctrine involved bringing hope and salvation to people, which aligned perfectly with Naori's dream. Is that why he works here?
で、 お前は典型会の何を知りたいんだ？
That question caught Masuki completely off guard.
別に俺のことが知りたかったわけじゃないんだろ。探偵の助手までしているようだしな。
Oh, poor Masuki. Sometimes like I gotta keep it subtle. I can't let anyone know what I'm onto. And they're like, so anyway, we know exactly what you're doing here. So why not we be upfront with each other? Yeah, no, they're cornering him hard. Question is, what are they gonna do about it? They're calling Ayato out on his shit. But what's their role in all of it? I'm curious to see. So obviously they're not gonna give away their information, right? Yeah, no, we know why you're here. We know everything about what's going on with you. We know every little fucking detail down to the dot. Nanako must have filled him in.
さっき言った先月の事件の時も探偵がここを訪ねてきたそうだからな。
それは知らないな。
That'd probably been Reiji, but Masuki decided to play dumb. Besides, he generally hadn't heard anything about Reiji paying this place a visit. Right, unless they're thinking of... They're saying Hoji was a detective, which is true. Was the Reiji ever at the Blessed Congregation? Was he? I don't know.
相変わらずだな、リヒト。
Naru smiled knowingly.
何が？
それは知らないということは他に知っていることがあるってことだろ。
そういったつもりで言ったわけじゃないけど。
Masuki broke into a cold sweat. Yeah, no. Oh boy.
回りくどいことはするなよ、リヒト。
Naru stared at Masuki head on.
知りたいことがあれば聞けばいい。大抵のことは教えてやれるさ。
Why would he be so generous? Because he wants to feed you lies. Just because we're old friends? No, I seriously doubt that. Now he's hoping you'll take whatever he says at face value because you're old friends. That's what it is. Yeah, go ahead and ask your questions. I'll tell you a bunch of bullshit, but because we used to be, besties, that means you're gonna trust every word out of my mouth. Except he's not because you're in the white robes. Also, we still don't know what the Blessed Congregation is behind the curtain, so this could be a trap. That's exactly what it is.
まあ俺はただの雇われ医務員だから。上の連中が何を考えているかまではわからないけどな。
だったら
Should I even bother asking him anything then?
この典型会、前身の千里鏡、さらに前、
仕草の人だったんだろう。
From what he'd heard, Michio Shigesa had been Mia and Saya's elder brother who'd run away from Hitogata and founded the Congregation of the Blessed.
彼はヒンナ様を利用した金儲けを思いついた。たたりで恐れさせ、払って沈める。
成功したのか？
ある程度はね。何かに依存することでしか自我を保てない人間が集まり、典型の会は勢力を増した。戦時中は当局に目をつけられることを恐れ、活動は小規模になっていたようだ。もともと小さな国の王といった感じで戦王を極めていたようだが、それの度が過ぎていたようで、その後新たな教主が据えられ、典型の会は千里教へと名前を変えた。
その話に何か意味はあるのか？
意味を作るのは俺じゃなくて、聞いているリヒトの方だよ。まあもちろん話した理由があるさ。教主は託戦の巫女と呼ばれていた。
Very, very curious what your reasons are. Now it continued.
今の典型会の上層部は千里教に深く関われなかった者たちだ。
託戦の巫女を作る。
それはもともと仕草神社にいた巫女と同様なものだろうね。今の代表は人型集落にもよく来ていたそうだから。
Satsuki flashed through Masuki's head.
ヒンナ様もあるのか？
ヒンナ様を祀っているとは聞いたことがないな。
じゃあたたりも起こしていたのか？
昔はやっていたそうだよ。ただ千里教は終末思想で恐怖を煽る形に姿を変えたし、典型会はそもそも救済が目的だからたたりないな。
There's no curse. Does that mean the Blessed Congregation really has nothing to do with these murders then? No.
ともあれ、今の典型会を仕切る織部さんは真っ当な人だよ。千里教事件で迫害された信者を受け入れ生活させているのだね。
そうなんだ。
Masuki now had a basic picture of the Blessed Congregation. Now Whenever he figured that Reiji had probably already dug up as much himself.
ところでさ、なおちゃん、
なんだい
いつからななこさんと一緒にいるんだい？
Question had been eating away at him for some time.
ああ、ナナコがこっちに来てからしばらくしてかな。典型会に入信しようとしていたナナコを見つけたんだ。
それで思いとどまることができたのよ。入信はしていないだけでこちらで手伝うことも多いのだけれどね。
まあ、そんなところかな。今話せることといえば。
Okay. That just gives more credence to Nanako's definitely the killer then. Because obviously she would have an in with Mayu. If she works around the Blessed Congregation, she would have an in with Mizuki. Obviously she would have an in with Megari. Though it seems like impossible that she did thing with Megari. I'm sure there's something she did. Or like I said, there's a very good chance Karen's involved. And she was there in Hitogata when Yuka got murdered. Which Yuka got led out to that, like I said, Yuka got led out to that shrine. It only makes sense that she would do so like if Karen had asked her to do that, and then Nanako took care of the actual work. Yeah, I just feel like all the roads lead back to Nanako being the main killer. She's not acting alone, but I feel like she's definitely the one carrying out the acts.
ありがとう、なおちゃん。
よしてくれよ。別に感謝されるようなことは何もしていないんだからな。
Now he smiled. That marked the end of the conversation. Muskie stepped outside. It was rather dark out, so they must have been talking for quite some time. Though it had been ages since they last spoken, Muskie didn't think his cousin had changed all that much. With luck, there was even the chance that he could leverage their old friendship to get more information out of Naori. It's with those thoughts in mind that Muskie decided to drop by Reiji's house the next day to report on his findings. That's the thing. I don't think you're going to be... I feel like he's in the point right now where it's like, I don't think you're going to be able to leverage that. He's acting very friendly right now, but I don't think you're going to be able to be like, hey, come on, man. We used to be such good friends. Surely you can help a brother out here. I don't think it's going to work out that way. That night after Toji had left,
どうするんだこれ。
she made a shitload of soup, didn't she? Her table was littered with bowls. Each of them was filled with soup, their colors ranging from white to red to black to downright transparent. It was all miso. What's more, they were all from New Year's soup. Where the hell are all these different kinds of miso had come from was a question as inexplicable as what had happened to the Mary Celeste. Worst case scenario would somehow end up with more miso than rice cakes.
なあゆかり。
お酒ですか？
Yukari picked up the bottle Toji had brought over.
飲みたいところだけどな。
A gesture to the bowls in front of us.
これでも結構いただいたのですが。
Indeed, Toji, Yukari, and I had quite the feast, yet there was still enough miso left over to feed Hitogata's entire population.
食うか。
I picked up the chopsticks I'd left on the table.
では、お餅を煮てきますね。
一つの碗に一つでいいだろう。
それではお餅があまり減りませんが。
明日食えばいいだろう。残りは。
Uh-oh, that's red. Okay. Some kind of like porch area. My body refused to move. As it says, is this a Toko POV? I was rooted to the dead center of the overpass. There was no one else in sight. No? They're on an overpass. Are they gonna jump? A train howled and passed beneath me. Oh, is this, Yukiko's friend, then? Just then I know someone ascending the staircase at the end of the overpass. They were headed right my way. Couldn't make out their face. Primal fear struck my heart, telling me to take a step back. And yet my feet refused to so much as budge. It's almost like I'd been caught in a bear trap. My voice failed to give sound to my cries for help. Not that anything had actually happened to justify doing so. Nothing indicated this person meant me any harm, yet I desperately tried to run away from them. That thing mustn't be here. That thing needs to stay away from me. They stood behind me. Though they should have been in front of me, they'd somehow circled around me before I'd even noticed the change in our positions. I tried to turn around, but my head was rusted in place. I have to get out of here. I have to get out of here. A hand reached out. Slender fingers entered the edge of my sight. The nail on the pinky was notably longer than the rest. That was a good luck charm that had been all the rage not too long ago. Why, even I tried doing the same to fit in. Right, that was about the same length I grew it to myself. I recognized that finger. I addressed the figure behind me in a raspy voice. They said nothing, simply putting their hand on my shoulder. I remember this. This is what happened on that day. Oh? All of a sudden, I was pushed against the guardrail. My back bent over it, and I found myself short of breath. A train passed below me. I tensed my paralyzed body and tried to fight back to the best of my ability. Train tracks were right beneath me. Riding them was another train fast approaching. Suddenly, my body went limp. Just like that, I fell over the guardrail and landed on the train tracks as casually as diving into a pool from a springboard. I looked up and noticed she was smiling. The rail my head literally sat on was shaking. I have to get away. I have to get away. Blood splattered. My arms, legs, torso, and head all scattered into numerous directions. It didn't hurt. I was literally being torn to pieces, yet all I did was simply look up at the me standing on the overpass. Okay, so this is some kind of dream Yukiko's having.
ありがとう。
I smiled.
これであなたも私の中に。
Yeah. Yukiko jolted up in her bed, shivering from the sweat coating her head from head to toe. It's just a dream. Yukiko hugged herself, the revelation only bringing her the smallest smidgen of relief. What a terrible nightmare. But that wasn't a dream. It was still dark outside, indicating that dawn was still a ways off. She hadn't dreamed the night before, meaning this had been her first dream of the new year. The chilly room mercilessly robbed the sweaty Yukiko of all her body heat. She shivered again. That wasn't just a dream. Yukiko reached out and picked a notebook and pencil off the desk. She then wrote down exactly what had happened in her dream. While she didn't remember any of it herself, probably it actually happened for real. Yukiko's memories of the past grew blurrier day after day, including the one of her friend falling off the overpass. Was that dream a memory from back then? If that were the case, then her mind was trying to turn something she'd always denied into something fantastical and meaningless. But as much as she told herself none of it had been true, that didn't stop her from writing it down. I don't remember ever doing something like that. But if this really is a reminder from my memories, then... I mean, if it is, that'd be fucking crazy. After waking up, Yukiko finally did the laundry she'd been putting off since New Year's and cleaned the kitchen. Then she reheated some dark brown miso soup from the prior night and added a rice cake to serve as breakfast. The radio was playing commentary on the second half of a relay race in the background. It seemed the leader had passed through Hiratsuka and was currently en route to Fujisawa. Yukiko herself had never visited the Shonan area. However, she wanted to see Enoshima at least once, though the sea breeze was surely freezing at this time of year. Maybe I'll go with Kahane and Yukiko if I find the time. Her thoughts were interrupted by the ringing of the doorbell.
Hi.
A gust of cold air caressed her cheeks the moment she opened the door.
明けましておめでとうございます。
Satsuki bowed his head, white steam emerging as he spoke.
まさきさん、明けましておめでとうございます。
Yukiko greeted him in turn.
正月になってから事務所を片付けてもらったようですみませんでした。
いいえ、あちらに届けられた年賀状を取りに伺っただけですから。
Satsuki basically kept the office clean though, so all she really had done was take out the garbage.
兄にご用ですか？
ええ、まあ。
兄はまだ眠っていますが、中でお待ちください。
珍しいですね。昨日は酒盛りでもしていたんですか？
そういうわけではないのですが、
Yukari smiled dryly and beckoned Masaki into the living room.
そんなに雑煮を食べたんですか？
ええ、残すのはもったいないからと言って。
Which, speaking of, eat up, bud. Yukari promptly served Masaki a bowl of New Year's soup with hacho miso.
どうも。
Masaki reached for the bowl in question.
事務所へもおせちを用意できたらよろしかったのですが。
そこまでしてもらわなくても結構ですよ。うまいですね。
まだまだありますので遠慮なくどうぞ。
これだけの量があれば一杯で十分ですよ。
Any putting 4 rice cakes into a single bowl was going too far. Yukari lamented her decision as she wondered when Reiji would be up. Masaki set the bowl on the table and used his left hand to hold it down as he ate. For a moment, Yukari wondered why he was eating like that, but she quickly realized his arm hadn't fully healed. Though barely, she could make out a sliver of a bandage around his left wrist beneath the sleeve. Yukari had heard that attempting suicide by slitting the wrist damaged the nerves before the blood vessels, leaving those who survived handicapped, temporarily or permanently. Thus she figured his strength had yet to return to him. However, she was reluctant to actually ask him to confirm her suspicions, for she was the one who'd found him that day. Frankly, she didn't see any need to remind him unless he brought it up himself. Besides, he seemed to be living a normal life by this point as Reiji's assistant anyway. Yukari had no idea what the two of them were investigating. In fact, she made her business not to know. After all, this was their job, not something they simply did for fun. Masaki had probably come to deliver a report related to their investigation, so she excused herself when the time came. She didn't need to concern herself with their work, as long as it wasn't something dangerous, of course. However, she knew that Eiji would never listen to her, no matter how much worry she expressed for him. And so, all she could do was pray.
どうも、ごちそうさまでした。
Masaki set down his chopsticks.
お粗末様でした。
いえ、お構いなく。腹いっぱいです。
He gave her a content smile.
そうですか。
Damn it. Yukari got up and started clearing the table.
なんだ、まさき。来てたのか。
The door to the living room opened all of a sudden, revealing the messy-haired master of the house rubbing the sleep out of his eyes.
おはようございます、兄さん。
おはようございます、時坂さん。
おう、何かあったのか。
Seeing Masaki first thing in the morning was not how I'd expected to start my day. It was hardly morning, seeing as the clock was bearing down on 11 o'clock fast.
昨日あったことを伝えておこうと思いまして。
お茶入れてきますね。
Yukari hastily picked the dirty tableware off the table and entered the kitchen.
厚めのを頼むわ。まだちょっと頭が働かない。
Sat down across from Masaki after giving my order to Yukiko. Good. Yukari. Damn it. I really need to switch my mind off autopilot.
典型会を調べたのか。
ええ。系列の神社にナオちゃん。
ああ。
It was the man who'd left with Nanako Sawashiro after we met at Moonworld the other day. Seemed he really had been a blessed congregation associate, just as his white robe had suggested.
あったんですか？
沢城奈々子と一緒にいるところをな。
じゃあ、ほとんどのことは知っているんですね。
Maski's shoulder sagged.
いや、俺がわかるのは一緒にいたということから推察できることくらいだ。
あ、それはないそうですよ。本人たちの話によれば、奈々子さんは入信する前に。
だったら先にそれを言えよ。
I was a bit embarrassed to have been proven wrong for something I'd sounded so sure of.
直りが入信を止めたとなると。
典型会で医者をやっているそうですから、内部にいることは間違いないんでしょうが。
神などにすがるような人物ではない。
そう思います。いつも自信に満ちていて、皆を引っ張っていましたから。
そういう人間が一度挫折を味わうと、
子供たちを救いたいとも言ってました。多分典型会の教えとも合致しています。
Another one was possible, but it sounded like he was pretending to be a believer on the surface at the very least. Though honestly, I had no way of knowing how truthful he'd been.
他には何か言っていたか。
典型の会から戦撃を、そして典型会。
その辺は大体知ってる。
では、次の託戦の巫女を作ろうとしているというのは。
初耳だな。
I sat up straight and gave him my undivided attention now that it was clear he hadn't just been wasting my time.
知り合いに聞いた話では、託戦の巫女というのは特別な能力を持っていたと聞く。
Much as I trusted Takashiro, though, the story of his sounded like total baloney since I hadn't actually seen any of it for myself.
そういった稀有な能力を持った人物を用意しているのか。
さあ、そこまでは分かりません。ただ典型の会の性質上、託戦の巫女とは仕草の
そっちの巫女に特別な能力はあったのか？
さあ
If the shamanism worked, it wouldn't have been unusual for word to have spread that she had some sort of superpower, especially considering the fact that the curse of Lord Hina was a thing. Hitogata's oracle probably channeled Lord Hina and decided who was to be cursed. However, that differed from the nature of the Oracle of Revelations. In all probability, Hitogata's oracle was likely little more than a pretender who simply had trance-induced delusions, or was brainwashed by followers who used their advantage, unlike the Oracle of Revelations and her supposed powers.
まあ、新たな巫女を作るというのはこちらに直接的な
But
関わ
what
り
if
は
it
ないだろ
does, said Eiji?
じゃあ典型界を調べる意味はないんじゃないですか？
What a reasonable question.
何が関わり合いになるかもわからないんだ。もう少し典型界については押さえておく必要があるだろう。
糸瀬さんという人のこともわからずじまいですしね。
Now that one I knew, but I felt he was better off not knowing just yet.
典型界については黒や直りというパイプができたから不用意に首を突っ込まない方がいいかな。
じゃあ自分はこれからどうしたらいいですか？
そうだな。一つ重要な任務があるだ。
何ですか？
ひな神製薬と連絡を取ってほしい。
Oh. Yeah. Muskie was rendered speechless. Knew wouldn't like it, but I saw no other way.
それはどうしてもしなくてはならない。
当然だろう。
Next stupid question. I pointed to the phone.
いや連絡先なんて知りませんよ。
ひな神製薬の電話番号は分かっているから心配するな。
Oh, I do.
でもですね。
All of a sudden, the phone started ringing as if there were some comedy sketch.
バカなわけあるか。
Wait, the phone.
もしもし、こちら時坂ですが。
Happy New Year. Oh, Natsume. My ears rang with that blithe and unpleasantly familiar voice.
何ですか
Happy
そ
New Year.
の明けおめってのは。
It means Happy New Year. Oh, Natsume. For some reason, I felt a migraine coming. Though personally, I had no clue what was in or out. There were limited reasons why she'd make that request. None of them would end well for me. I don't know. Might end with busting a fat nut, which I think would be pretty cool.
事件のことだったらまさきも連れて行きますよ。
My fear has been perfectly founded. Swell. Simply swell.
伝言だったらこの電話でも十分じゃないですか。
I want dick. I briefly drew my mouth away from the receiver and heaved a weary sigh. Guess I'm going whether I want to or not.
とりあえず、まさきも連れてこれから伺いますんで。
おかしなことって何ですか？
俺に聞くな。
ここですか。
Muskie sighed when we arrived at the front door of the Takashiro clinic. His reaction was only to be expected. Anyone would be on guard if their previous visit involved an impromptu art exhibit of corpse
今日
photos.
はあんなことはないだろうから心配するな。
I hadn't heard of any new victims popping up in Tokyo after all. And again, she could have been handling a corpse that had nothing to do with our case.
わかりませんよ。ここで解剖もしているんでしょ。入った途端ベッドに腹が裂かれた死体があるとか。
自分で言って気分悪くするなよ。
Patted Muskie on the back and entered the clinic. Only to find a corpse with its guts on display atop the dissection table.
夏目さん、解剖台の上でカツオをばらすのはどうかと思いますよ。
解凍が終わったばかりで美味しいです。
Natsume was stuffing her face with some bonito sashimi. The fact that she had it skewered on a scalpel sent shivers down my spine.
ナナちゃんが年末に高知で一本釣りをしてきたそうで送ってきてくれたんですわ。
That sounded like total bullshit. I couldn't prove it, of course.
で、何の用だったんですか？
I wasn't going to pass on a free meal if she called us to share the food.
まあ一人で食べきれへんやろから呼んだのもありますけど
Natsume sidled up to me.
なんで？
もう分かってあるくせに。
No, with a bang. Yeah, but I totally saw this coming.
ああ、自分は外に出ていた。
まさきはも混じりたかったらかまへん。
いや、自分は遠慮してきます。
真面目に受け取るな。
I should probably bounce me off before this ticking time bomb had time to blow. No, let her blow. I want her to blow.
いけず。
で、本当の要件は何ですか？
まずはお刺身いただきまへん。
Now that was a proposition I could get behind. That's when we cut up the bonita and garnished it with ginger root and soy
う
sauce.
まいですね。
ですやろ。お魚は取れたて新鮮なうちに召し上がるのが一番です。
Personally, I didn't consider freshly thawed the same as freshly caught, but it was so damn good that I ultimately decided not to split hairs.
ご飯が食べたくなりますね。
堪忍な。炊いとくの忘れとったんですわ。
お前が隣近所からお裾分けしてもらってこいよ。
勘弁してくださいよ。というか、要件について話はしないんですか？
まあ食べながらでも構いまへんけどな。富山県警から連絡が来まして、なんや穴掘ったら手足が出てきた言ってましたね。
I glanced at Mosky out of the corner of my eye. Okay, so now we have your proof that you really did bury them. What comes next?
身元などはわかりそうですか？
うちが見てるわけちゃいますから判断できまへんな。随分と昔のものらしいですけど、
Damn, it's
防
almost like they
加
were
工
left
も
in
され
the
て綺麗
frozen
なもんみ
ground
たい
for
ですね。
years.
だとしたら指紋の採取も可能ですね。
見た目が綺麗なのと指紋が残ってるのはまるでちゃいます。
That's my cutter bonito's skin with a scalpel. She explained the situation to us.
カツオ飯の鱗を剥がしても皮は綺麗ですよ。
だそうだ。
Turn the conversation back over to Mosky.
それはサツキの志士で間違いないと思います。
確かお前は母親の獅子も保存されていたとか言っていたよ。
せやからうちが見えへんことには何とも言えまへんって。
母親が死んだのは自分が生まれて間もなくと聞いています。
夏目さん、こちらでそれを調べることはできませんか？
あちらさんがよこしてくれないと思います。
血液型がわかるようでしたら、仕草やひな髪の人の血液型と照らし合わせて。
そこまで便利な鑑定方法はまだ発見されておりまへん。せいぜい ABO 型と遺伝子型の組み合わせで。
親子ではない？親子だというのがわかるということではないんですか？
例えば両親が O 型の場合、その子供は必ず O 型になるよ。もし子供が A 型だった場合、両親から生まれたことにはならないっていうことです。だからといって子供が O 型であったとしても、その両親から生まれたとは限らないですよ。
は
He said that, and he really didn't sound all that sure of himself. I put my money on him not following personally.
関係者さんの血液型を調べるのはあちらの警察やさか。うちからは何とも言えまへんな。
Ugh.
お前が言い出したんだからお前が頼むよ。
自分がですか？
少なくとも俺はヤギ沼にネチネチと嫌味を言われながら頼み事はしたくない。
自分だってそうですよ。
言い出しっぺがやらな飽きまへんやろ。
ああ、高城さんがそう言うんでしたら。
Mosky's shoulders slumped in resignation.
うちのことは夏目さん呼ばな飽きまへん。
わかりました。夏目さん。
That was like the longest fucking sigh I've ever heard. Just. Like, he really held that shit. If a sound could ever encompass the sentiment of I hate my life, it would be Mosky's sigh at that moment. Yeah, no shit. Oh, that was great. The sun started to set over Yodobashi by the time we returned to my office in Shinjuku from Takadanobaba via the Yamate line.
なんだか嫌な予感がするな。
I shook my head after looking up at my office window.
どうかしたんですか？
いや、お前は先に上がってい
The
てくれ。
lights on.
ほう。
Though confused and not placated, Mosky did as I asked and entered the building. Little did he know that I'd momentarily seen a figure in my window. It was probably him. He does remember government offices are closed for the holidays right now, doesn't he? Someone must really love his job. Shortly thereafter, I entered the office, finding one superintendent workhorse seated on the sofa, just as expected.
一体どこで油を売っていたんですか、あなた方は。
Masaki was rooted in place, completely at the mercy of Yaginuma's snide remarks. Maybe I should have killed some more time before stepping inside.
事前に連絡もなくいきなり来たっているわけないだろう。
Reluctantly threw Masaki a lifeline.
正月にのんびり休みを取っているとは思えませんから。いる。
休んでないからこそここにはいないだろう。
そんなのはどうだっていいんですよ。
I care not.
こちらだって休みなのにわざわざ出向いたんですから。
Yaginuma whipped an envelope out of his pocket and threw it on the
これ
table.
は
先日富山から持ち込まれた土と現場で発見された土くれの鑑定結果ですよ。
もう出たのか。
科捜研に正月返上で働かせたんですよ。
You mean thank you and not the people who actually did the work? Yeah, I'll pass. Grab the envelope and retrieve the report waiting within. Ayakami-zana, Mizukita-sei, and Megane Takamiya's clay dolls all use dirt made from volcanic ash, containing large amounts of aluminum. They were from Kanto's Lomi layer, and it was highly likely that all of them came from the same
科
place.
学的にも東京の3人を殺害したのは同一犯だとしょう。
同一犯なのか同一のグループなのかは分かりませんがね。
In other words, the dirt left at the scene of Yuka Kirimoto's murder. It was also from Kanto's Lomi layer, as its composition identical to the other three samples.
東京と人型の事件は同一犯の可能性が高いんですね。
何度も言いますが実行犯が特定できる要素は何もありません。
東京の関東の土というのがポイントなのだろうな。
With that out of the way, I shoved another report to Masaki.
祀ってあったヒンナ様の土ですか。
Indeed, the one enshrined at the Hinagami estate. According to the report, it was believed to be glacial, the kind found frequently in Hokuriku, composed primarily of manganese and iron. It also contained calcium phosphate, leading the investigators to believe it had been taken from a place that had traditionally served as a burial site.
どうして土層がどうとかもわかるんですか。
リン酸カルシウムは骨の主成分だからな。
そういや聞いたことがあります。ヒンナ様を作るのに墓場の土を使うって。
伝承通りに作ったもののようだな。
That said, none of this had anything to do with the case. The actual problem
桐
was
村由香を含めた4件が同一犯であること。それが本来のヒンナ様のたたりではないだろうということだ。
I would have liked to investigate the clay dolls found in murders such as Keiko Zaizen's and Sachiko Kawase's if possible. It was probably far too late for that.
問題はそれだけじゃありませんよ。
Yaginuma chimed in.
向こうでの事件に犯人は東京から土人形を持って行ってます。
He was right. Yuka Kirimoto clearly hadn't been killed on a whim, that much was sure. However, the why of her murder eluded me, seeing as how she hadn't been one of Ayato Hinagami's bridal candidates. Masaki, Karen Hinagami, Nanako Sawashiro, and I were all visiting from Tokyo when Yuki Kirimoto was murdered. Yeah. Taking Masaki and myself on the suspect list narrowed our options down to two, both of which were plausible. After all, the victims were female, so it would have been strange if even a fellow woman with little strength had killed them. Wouldn't have required that much elbow grease to put the bodies on show either. All they'd have to do was lift them and suspend them. That said, I knew it was far too early to be jumping to conclusions.
なあ、柳沼。ひながみ製薬と当たりをつけられないか。
そこに御曹司がいるじゃないですか。
Yaginuma gestured at Masaki to punctuate his point. Perfectly reasonable question, really.
こちらが表立って動くわけにはいかないんですよ。まだひながみ製薬にこれといった疑惑があるわけじゃないんですから。
まだってことは何か調べているんだな。
答える義理はありませんね。
糸瀬瑞希の父親がひながみ製薬にいたこ
早いですね。
Yaginuma looked irritated at being outfoxed for
こ
once.
ちらの案件にも関わってくる内容は公開して構わないと言ったそうじゃないか。
勝手に調べるのは構いませんが、
そっちで何を調べているかわからないからな。
邪魔であれば工房で引っ張りますからね。
Yaginuma got to his feet.
なあ、帰る前に一つ頼まれてくれないか。
Quick favor, bud.
何ですか。
人型集落のひながみ家としぐさ家全員の血液型を調べてくれないか。
僕の仕事じゃありませんね。
警察は挟まなくていいのか。
所轄が違いますから何の意味もありませんよ。
Fine, just don't come complaining to us
わ
later.
かった。じゃあこっちから直接調べてもらう。
What if I could ask Yuzuru Kuroya or someone to pass me that information on the sly?
では僕はこれで。
ああ、あと一つだけ。
何ですか。
お年玉くれないのか。
鉛玉しか食らわせられませんよ。
After Yaginuma left, Masaki and Reiji had a light dinner. Concluding with the latter, setting the phone before the former.
さあかけろ。
どこにですか？
ひな神製薬に決まってるだろう。ひな神しずると面会の約束を取り付けたい。
自分でかければいいじゃないですか。
お前な、一階の私立探偵が電話をかけてホイホイと会ってくれるような気さくな会社だと思ってるのか？
そりゃそんなに緩い企業だったら自分だってとっととついてますけどね。
Muskie heaved a sigh. To say he was reluctant was an understatement. After all, he hadn't spoken to his father in over a decade. The man hadn't even been home during Muskie's brief return to Hitogata after the war. Furthermore, he was strict, though not so much as Hideyomi, to the point Muskie had found the very prospect of speaking to him a terrifying one back in the day. What do I even say to him after so long?
余計なことは考えずに要件だけ伝えればいいだろう。積もる。
わかりました。
Muskie nodded and picked up the phone. He then dialed the number on the paper that Reiji had handed him. The phone kept ringing and ringing. Reiji opened his mouth to say something, but Muskie stopped him and checked the calendar on the wall. It was Friday, January 3rd.
やっぱりまだ正月休みか。
分かっててかけさせたんですか？
Muskie grumbled as he hung
明
up.
日にしませんか？
明日電話をしても面会できるのは来週になるだろう。できれば早めに。明日には会って話を聞きたい。
だったらカレンに電話してみます。
Muskie got up and went over to his bag in the corner of the office.
あるんだったら最初からそっちにかけろよ。
ひな神製薬に電話しろと言ったのは時坂さんじゃないですか。
Muskie snapped back and retrieved a scrap with Karen's home number on it.
自宅にいるかどうかは分かりませんけどね。
Oh, she's gonna answer like right away. He returned to the phone, dialed the number. And heard someone pick up on the other end shortly thereafter.
カレンか？僕だ。
He refused to mention his birth name even when speaking to his own sister.
親父と話しました。
それは構いませんが。
Muskie looked up to Reiji.
それもあるけど、ずっと親父とは話していないから。
じゃあ、ようやくひな神製薬を継いでくださるのです。
いや、まだそんなことは考えていないよ。
では、明日の午前中でしたら、父様。社長も本部におられますので、こちらに来ていただけますか？
四谷だったね。わかった。あとこちらからは。
男性の方もお越しになるのですよ。
あ、頼む。
Muskie hung
明
up.
日の午前中であれば問題ないそうです。
俺が行かないでどうするんだよ。
True. I can only imagine myself holding a conversation with Dad.
午前中だな。だったら9時過ぎに迎えに来るから。
Reiji got up.
特に準備は必要ありませんけど。
All I had to do was look respectable.
バカ。十数年ぶりに親父と会う覚悟だよ。
Reiji showed himself out, leaving Muskie to stew over those words. Guts, huh? Reiji was right. He still didn't have that. But at the very least, it had to be far easier than steeling himself to return to Hitogata just 2 weeks ago. God, it's already been 2 weeks? Fuck, it has. God damn.